Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 42-year-old from Red Deer, Alberta, Canada, a fifth rounder of the Buffalo Sabres. His hockey journey has taken him to Canada, the USA, Austria, Switzerland, and Deutschland. Laced up for Team Canada in the World Juniors, the Deutschland Cup, the Lotto Cup, and a Spengler Cup champion with Canada. A staple and legend with the Calgary Hitmen, and I'm pretty sure his jersey should be retired if it hasn't been, because in the WHL, he was twice, had the most points and apples by a D-man, twice in the WHL, the most sportsman-like player, two-time first-team All-Star, Canadian Hockey League first and second-team All-Star, and in 98-99 was the Canadian Hockey League Sportsman of the Year. Mucked around with the Hartford Wolfpack for years and ended up lacing up in 252 AHL matches, dabbled in Austria and the Swiss A League before finding a home in Germany and becoming a Deutsche Meister and a Pokal champion like yours truly. And afterwards, just for fun, won the Allen Cup with the Bentley Generals. Welcome back to the shed, Matt Kinch.
Hey, what an intro. Awesome stuff.
You did all that stuff, man.
Yeah, it seems like a lifetime ago.
Isn't it weird how it does? It feels like a lifetime ago, right? Like I literally had forgot about my hockey life for like 5 years, and then now it's all flooded back, you know?
Well, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have even probably talked to Benny or Lindy and all those guys, and we got to set it all up there. That was awesome with Maloney, and that was great.
Oh, and that's what I like. Honestly, that's what I love about doing this is reconnecting people. I'm like, I've done it for myself, but then I like to make other people have fun too. And like when I can help you guys reconnect, and the way that happened was episode, what was it? 210. Was I wrote to Levs, who was a shed guy, and said, who from your Germany days would you want to reconnect with? And he said the Ravensburg fellas, right?
That's hilarious.
Oh man, yeah. But like to bring you guys back together, and it's true though. Until I started this, I didn't talk to like hardly anybody, right? It was like I had my handful of guys. Now I have more than that.
Oh yeah, you like I follow your stuff, and you're connecting with all sorts of people. It's awesome. And when you get the groups like that, I'm sure those guys are just loving it. They probably just love it.
Oh, it just brings everybody back together. And that's the shit I love. And I love making memories for people. And like, I see your kids are like kind of older, right? So like, well, they might young, even listen to this, right?
Yeah. My son actually was like, hey, aren't you supposed to be doing this podcast thing tonight? And I was like, yeah, I am. Yeah, so he knows. He's following it.
I love it. So you just went to see him. I like part of my thing is I talk about like my kids coming up through hockey, and you've kind of gone through the minor hockey jazz I'm going through now because your kid is now playing junior with Big Dogs as coach from episode 210.
Yep, that's right. Big Maloney. Yeah, we just got back. He was out there. He's settling in his first year stuff, right? You're learning a lot, but he's holding his own and good with a good guy. Maloney's going to be up front and honest with them, so he's going to be he's in a good spot and obviously the goal is to get a scholarship, which will probably happen in the next year too. So that's obviously a different route than I went. So I've kind of had to lean on some people, hockey guys.
So why would he be going that route then? If you went the major junior route, is it dad coaching him to do something different, or why is that?
I think a couple different things. Like he had a bad injury when he was his Bantam draft year, and they do it pretty early here. So I think, and he's got a late birthday, so there's kind of a couple factors there. So I think that kind of just his path just seems to naturally be going that way, which is great. I mean, he had maybe a couple teams interested to go this year, but now you're 17, but you're considered an 18-year-old, and you need WHL. That's 2 years, and then you're kind of
exactly, and like everybody's trajectory and like bodies grow at different times and like fill out or whatever. Like for me, when I was drafted to Brampton, I wasn't ready for like to move away from home to be playing against the 20-year-olds. I was just a little tiny kid, right? Yeah. And That's how I ended up going the college route. I was a later bloomer, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's pretty similar. I mean, I think my son's that same way. Like he's gonna, it's gonna be a long, tough year, like learning year this year, and I think he'll be pretty good. Really, like have some pretty good numbers the next couple of years, and that'll set him up for some
Yeah.
sort of college opportunity. I
Well,
would think that's how I'm looking at it.
you're
That's
in,
the way.
and you know your kid. I watch my kid play, and it's pretty interesting watching him at this age. Like he's right into her, and it's pretty neat. It's like he makes like a decoration for the Christmas tree. It's a Kincard Canuck player. He makes a cereal box for school. It's hockey charms, and like everything he does is hockey, right? It's like the other
Yeah,
night at the
that's fun.
table. He looks like he's tired. I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? Like, what are you doing? He goes, I just want to play hockey. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh,
okay,
cool
bud.
stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting. He reminds me of someone. I can't put my finger on it, but like you've
Yeah.
gone through this, the minor hockey journey, like even for yourself, and then you have your kid go through it. It's wild, isn't it? The
Yeah.
decisions you make and where to play and why and all the
Yeah,
baloney that
totally.
goes with it.
I mean, you would appreciate this because my son started in Germany, and so he was one of those kids that they made like run around the rink before practice. And I remember like it was like a 3 hour event dropping my son off at the rink. We'd stay there, he'd run
And
around,
that
they'd
would be
warm
a
up, and
totally different
practice for an
culture.
hour.
Totally
Oh,
different
totally
culture.
different. Yeah. It's like you weren't allowed in the dressing room because that was the way it was. You had to get dressed, and they had one volunteer parent that would tie the skates, and that was all that was allowed in. And it was just after you practiced, you'd come out and you'd have to do your cool down for an hour, and then you'd had to shower. You didn't care if you're 6 years old or 14 years old. You had to shower, and then they blow dry your hair because they didn't want your hair to be wet because that's the way they are in Europe. So we'd come out, it'd be like a 3 hour event. We'd be like, what do we do for these 3 hours? But I mean, the kids loved it. It was great. I mean, all the lessons were learned. It was just the kids in the room. It was them learning how to put on their equipment if they've never done that before.
Yeah.
Complete opposite of what we see over here, where you have 15 parents in the dressing room, and so you try to apply some of those ideas.
Well,
Yeah.
and so for me, that hits home because last year when I was coaching the fellas, we had a tournament because of COVID and all the baloney is they didn't let parents come down to the room for like the tournament at the start of the season. And when I like for the first couple exhibition games, the parents were coming in tying skates and stuff. And then when I saw the fellas without mom and dad coming in the room and they're acting like themselves and they're being themselves and they could be the boys.
Mm-hmm.
I told the parents after that tournament, which we won, folks, because winning's fun. I did tell the parents they were no longer allowed to come in and tie the skates. That I got it. We'll tie the skates. But the boys want to be the boys, and when it's time for hockey, it's time to be in the room with the fellas. I don't think you need the parents coming in, right?
No, I agree. And you have I think there's four. I mean, in Calgary, we're allowed 5 coaches, so there's 5 coaches in there that can help kid to tie the skates for the kids, and let the kids be the kids. Maybe there's a 10-minute rule where you talk to them after, and then let them go. It was pure chaos in the first couple of years. I'm like, there's like grandmas and grandpas and strollers, and it's like, what is going on right now? Total chaos.
Yeah. No, yeah, but so how did he play that? You were just there this weekend. You just went to watch him play. So how far away is he from home?
It's an hour flight. So it's like Calgary to Abbotsford, and then it's like a 20-30 minute drive from there. So it's pretty
You gotta
convenient.
fly to see him play.
Yeah, I mean, you could drive, but it's a long drive. That's it's a 9 hour drive. I
Things are
did enough of
stretched
those.
out
I did enough of
west,
those
eh?
going up to Bremerhaven and
Yeah.
in the Bundesliga. No, I love them, but that's a little long.
Yeah, I totally agree. I pretty well tried to sleep the whole way up there. I'd have a couple drinks late before the Bremerhaven trip so I could get
Oh
some
my gosh.
sleep in.
And then you got to get off the bus and play, and then you get right back on and drive 9 hours back. Yeah.
Yeah, folks. So in the second league of Germany, I guess they're in the DL now, but in the second league of Germany, you would literally, you don't pay for hotels. You never ever stay in a hotel the whole time you're there for 6 years. You literally bus to games and you bus back. And that means even if it's at the very top of Germany, right?
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning and you're gone at like 6 a.m. You get
Yeah.
there at night to play the game, and then you get back the next morning.
I know, and I did this one time. So my son was playing. I promised him I was gonna. So when we did that trip and we got back, I think at like 7 or 8 in the morning or whatever it was, and then I came home for an hour and I went with my son. He had a it must have been on the Sunday or Monday. It must have been on Sunday or Saturday. We went right to watch him play, and she went again. So I hopped on another bus and went and watched him. But yeah, it was quite a trek up there. That was a long trip.
So how old was your son when playing in Germany?
He would have been like I guess whatever that is, Timbits U5. Like I got to start him early. They let me start him at 5, and then I think he was there 5, 6, 7, maybe. That sounds right. So when we came back, he was second year novice, whatever that is. Is that U9? I don't even know. At least different U8s or U7s, U9s. I think he came back at second year novice, which I believe was U9.
Is U9? Yep, that's what I'm coaching now. I'm coaching some gals. We're running a muck. Yeah.
I saw that.
Oh yeah, we're having so much fun, and you should see how much better the gals are getting. Shout out to Briar. First practice, she couldn't skate at all, like at all.
Oh man!
Now she's ripping around, getting shots on net. Almost scored last game,
Yeah,
and now we got a dynamic warm up going. Last game, I did execute a cartwheel and a handstand for the gals. So
wow, that's going to be expected now for moving head.
I know, and I was in jeans. I was in my fancy pants too. But yeah, they do expect once you do it once, you're like, well, how do I make this better? It's kind of like doing pregame speeches in Cardiff, and then things get carried away. You got to keep doing things better, right? And then, yeah, I don't know where I go from the handstand.
Especially if you won, you're gonna have to do it.
I don't think we won, but we didn't keep score. So we might have won. I don't know. Some of the girls thought we did, but okay. Is your jersey retired?
No, it's not. The Hitmen. You're thinking the Hitmen, right?
Yeah, you got a bone to pick with them because I do. After looking at this,
yeah,
there was one year you had 30 playoff points as a D-man. You're the Canadian Hockey League Sportsman of the Year. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's a polite way of saying you're not the best defenseman, but you're right up there. So we're going to give you this award. No, we got you know what, that Brad Moran, I don't know if people might know that name. He actually played in England there.
I do know his name.
Yeah.
I got a story about that. We'll get into it later. But yeah.
I can't wait to hear that. So yeah, so he got his jersey retired. And I believe mine was supposed to go up with him. And then GM at the time, Kelly Kissio, put the kibosh on it. So that's what I heard. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but
so did they do his jersey and not yours?
They did do his, yeah. And to his, I mean, he's still the leading guy of all time, 25 years later or whatever it is. His stats stick. I think mine are still sticking as far as the D-men are concerned. I mean, it's different now, right? You got to play 5 years. Like I played 5 years and averaged 60 or 70 points. Like that's a tough goal. You got to have it.
Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah. I would think your jersey would be retired, but who knows what Kissio's got against you, right?
Yeah, he made the call now. I mean, it didn't hurt him. He's the guy. He's a scout in Vegas, so it hasn't hurt him. So
now, yeah, now that whoever's in charge, figure it out, folks. We want another jersey retired in the shed because it's wild. Like I didn't realize, right? I just know who my friends were through hockey, and like my shed guys know shed guys, and it's wild how many jerseys have now. Like, I honestly have lost track, but I just off the top of my head, I wrote some down. Chris Culligan just last week had his retired from his Q team. Derek Nesbitt just got his retired in Atlanta. Then Benny Thompson in Ravensburg from your episode, right? And that's number 29. We can talk about that, how we know each other. But Tifu and Reading, number 10. Justin Kelly and Beatingham, my centerman, number 27. Calvin Elfring, you played with in Straubing.
Yeah, he got his. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was a good player.
Those are just the ones I wrote down off the top of my head. I didn't go through the list of the people that have been on, but there's a lot of like my buddies' jerseys in the rafters, and I think that's really neat. And yours should be there. So
yeah,
figure it out, Hitmen.
Yeah, you know what the thing is? The problem with the Hitmen is it's they're gonna focus on the guys that have made it to the NHL, and that's the tough thing. Like your Getzlaff was there, and Lad.
Broncos. Sorry.
Yeah. Exactly.
Isn't it about the college career? Sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
You know how it is. It's kind of brutal, right? Like I mean, the guys the numbers are there, they're not going anywhere. And they haven't for 20 some years. There were some pretty good memories. We did a pretty good run. We had a good team. It's unfortunate, but the guys, it's all about promoting. Getzlaff played a couple of years there, and he went. It looks good that in the organization when those ones go up. So
well, that's true, but it's I think a lot has to do with how you played. Well, you played for that team, not kind of what you did afterwards, right? For me at
Sure.
Western Michigan, we sucked, so I didn't get anything accomplished. So don't worry about that, Broncos. I was just kidding. Um, but like you guys were winners. You guys were winning shit. So, anyways, we better keep going, okay?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm still into how we know each other. The first episode, we talked about how Leon Draisaitl wears number 29 for Ben Thompson, who was on.
Yeah.
Then, right after we talk about it, Hockey Night in Canada. There he is. There's Benny on Hockey Night in Canada. Eh?
That was amazing. Reading right off the script. Whoever was holding the form up, it was awesome watching him.
Hair, the product looked nice in the hair, right? He was ready to go.
He was dialed in. He looked like he shaved for it and everything. He was
But that what a story though, right? That like Ben Thompson goes over to Ravensburg to play in the second league of Germany. And then now Draisaitl's Draisaitl and he wears 29 because of Ben Thompson.
Yeah.
That we were mucking it up with.
That is like, isn't that funny? Because I remember sending you the video right after, being like, "Did you see this?" I said it to Maloney. I was like, "Did you just see this? This was on Hockey Night in Canada." And there's Benny talking away, talking about how he wears number 29 and why, why.
I would have never seen that if you guys wouldn't have sent that to me. And yeah, that's what I love about the shed. I'm just more connected with people, and like, there's more talk. There's more hockey talk. I had lost my hockey talk for like 5 years, and I got it back.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's like the dressing room, but not the dressing room, right?
Right. It's like I'm on the bus, really, right?
Yeah.
But after the game, not before.
Yeah, no, that's way better after.
Yeah.
Especially
Oh God. So is Maloney a old school coach? I can picture him as an old school coach. He's an old school hockey player.
Yeah, I'm on from what I know of my son, and like he harps on, back checking. You got to back check hard. Like, if you're coming back, if you're the first forward back, you're not just going to your wing. If you're a winger, you're coming back and helping out down low. And like, you can see a lot of similarities to how Maloney played in the way the team plays that he coaches, for sure.
Yeah.
Practice is hard though. Like, I mean, yeah, he's got a good program there. He's done a good job.
Oh, I could see it, right? Because he'd be able to relate to the kids now, but he also would bring that, like, the balls and testosterone he played with, right? That like maybe some kids need these days.
Yeah, and he knows he's got a player on his team. He's got a projected to get drafted. So, you're trying to push that guy as much as you can. And you want to highlight that. It looks good in the program if someone gets drafted. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. He's a hockey guy. Yeah. And he says he's coming to the shed too for his solo trip. Okay.
Well, maybe he won't be in his car this time and with the lights off. You might want to put sit in a highlighted room.
Try and get him in a room on a computer, maybe.
Yeah. I'm watching his kids practice.
Yeah, watching the kids practice is an interesting one. That's new for me. So I've always been out there, right? And now I go there to the Suns practice, and geez, it's boring.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to be a local, like they have to have non-parent coaches now. Is that already?
They could have had me on staff. Yep.
Chose not to. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Don't want someone who knows hockey to help out, I guess, right?
I'm the under-9 gals coach this season, and we're having a blast. No, we are though, and it's cool though when I see my shed guys when I go to the games and like they look at me at the glass and like give me the bump,
Oh yeah,
it's all good. They're my buddies for life. We had a hell of a season last year, and I'm sure I'll coach them again someday.
Yeah,
but I get to have this season with my daughter, and it's been an absolute hoot. And it's a challenge for me as a coach to come up with practice plans. I'll tell you that.
Well, I would expect that. Every different skill level. That's
Yeah, and then they'll let you know when they're bored. Like, if you got to keep it fun, but then you actually have to try and get them to try and somewhat want to get better. But like, they are getting better, even just having fun. So, yeah, it's different. But the practices when you're not the coach is really boring. Yeah. In Bruce County, the dads drink a lot of beers in the parking lot. Actually, it's like a tailgate almost.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot, and it doesn't matter.
Does that happen out west too? Then
used to be like we'd watch the games even to last year when I was with the hockey parents. It'd be in between periods. Like you're out there and you're like crushing a beer as quick as you can
As
and
soon as there's
back
a
out.
flood, right? Yeah, because
Yeah.
we don't
Oh
have
yeah.
floods right now, so you gotta
Yeah.
it's before and
After.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the practices, man, they got in this town, they're doing half ice practices, man. You think I
No,
can
that's
watch a half ice practice when I'm not even helping out? I cannot watch that. I'll be in the
no.
parking lot.
Yeah, no, it's
Tough time.
brutal. It's happening down east. Yeah, it's Calgary. It's brutal. The ice time. There's not enough.
No, no, no. Real estate's
Yeah,
expensive though. It's hard to get more sheets, eh? Anywho,
yeah.
better move on. Poster pics. Um, so there's the picture of you and your son in Chilliwack outside the barn, right? That's a nice arena. They got so how many fans they got there for a junior team?
They do well. Like the rink's too big. It's 5,000 seats. I think it was set up for a WHL team, and then they ended up moving. I think Victoria bought them, and then the Chiefs went back in. I think we were there. Like I think they average over 2,200. It doesn't look like much in there, but it's a lot of people for that. I think the
It's a
one
lot
game
of
we were
people,
at,
but it'd be nicer to have a small rink that's
yeah, a
packed.
little,
I always wanted
yeah,
small rinks that are packed than a big one that's half full.
yeah, I agree. So this is like they're good. It's like they could do good production. About 20. I think there was a game they were there about 3,000. One was 28, and then the
Wow.
last time I think around 22.
That's a
So
lot
they
of
like
people for a
talking.
junior game.
Yeah, they do well, and then they hadn't been playing good until recently. So that's something to be said that they people are still coming because some of those places you lose, they're
Yeah.
on to the next, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. The Allen Cup with you got your whole crew with you there, eh? So you got
yeah,
two daughters and a son then, eh?
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Where were they born?
So I yeah we or my son was born in Salzburg. I played 1 year in Salzburg when there was a lockout,
So he's an
and then
Austrian boy.
an Austrian. Yeah, so he's got that. I don't know. Well, I guess he's got his birth certificate there. He does not Austrian, but I'm sure they'd swing anything over in that country to have a.
Well, yeah. My son was born in Germany and he doesn't get anything for it. He's got the birth certificate, but doesn't get
Yeah,
much else. Yeah.
yeah. And one of our daughters was born in Germany, and then our other one was born back in Canada in Calgary in the off season.
So the daughter born in Germany, what town was it in?
That was in Straubing.
So did the
Yeah,
nurses
where
speak
Elfring was.
English?
Yeah,
Did the
yeah.
nurses speak English?
Yeah, we actually had a pretty good setup. It was well, Straubing would be like 60,000 or 50,000 people, and you're the only ones in there that night. And yeah, it actually was great. I think Salzburg was a little bit more chaotic. There's a busy hub. We were in the main hospital. It was like so many people in there. It was crazy.
Gosh,
That was a little bit
yeah,
more different.
I just remember speaking of my son. I remember that he was born in Germany in Helbrod, and the nurses did not really know English. So because my German was pretty good, they would say things to me to relay to the wife, and sometimes I didn't know what they were saying, and it was like, this is a high pressure situation to not know what's being said.
Don't want to tell her the wrong thing. Yeah.
No, so I usually would just say push, and then they'd be like, "No, wait, no, I didn't say that."
Stop.
Okay.
Nothing. Yeah.
So
So
where and what are you doing now?
so yeah, I'm doing a couple of interesting things. We own a business, it's a fitness studio, and that's still going. We've kind of made it through COVID. We need a good push this winter time to keep going. They're on the right path. It was an industry that was hit pretty hard, like restaurants. So
No
helping
kidding.
with that, and then a group in town in Calgary asked me to open up like a almost like a driving range, but for hockey. So it's going to have a bunch of shooting stalls, a couple rapid shots, and yeah, so they kind of helped me to help them get it up and going, and I'll probably help do some private stuff on there, and along with the hiring and getting it all set up. So that'll probably open up in the new year. So that's pretty interesting venture that we
Well,
can
that's
take
cool.
on
I've
now that.
never heard of anything like that. So it's basically the whole place will be just like almost like a driving range, then just a lineup of people shooting.
Yeah, exactly. So you rent it out for time and space. I don't know if you've seen these rapid shots. They're the ones where they pass you the puck and you shoot on the net. It can read like your accuracy and speed. I think they got a couple of those are pretty expensive units. So they got two of those, and then a bunch of shooting lanes like that where you can have shooter tuners and those sling things that pass you back, and you can actually skate on it, the actual plastic as well. So that's an option if you want to skate
So
on it.
where are you? This must be a city then, Calgary.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big warehouse. These guys are like, yeah, they're going for it. It's a huge, like a 10,000
Gotta
square.
have a lot of hockey players in Calgary then, eh? Pull stuff like this
Well,
off.
yeah, I think what you'll see is a lot of teams coming in, like especially at the end of this spring season and the hockey season.
Yeah.
And I think you'll get a lot of one-on-one stuff. I think in spring and summer, I think you'll get a lot of that stuff. That's what I think, but I could be
Well,
wrong. I'm trying to push to get like a restaurant put in there and make it like a have beers and
bar
food.
beers and
Yeah.
yeah.
Now you're catering to all of us, right? No,
So
we'll come in
what's
and shoot
that
some puck.
top golf, right? We could make it
Yeah,
like
something like
top
that.
hockey where you have different things to shoot at with a hockey puck. Just thinking
Yeah,
out loud, right?
yeah,
But
it'd be amazing. Yeah.
speaking of doing hockey stuff, is I am having a Wally Skills Day, folks. If anybody in my area, I rented the ice in Ripley, December 30th and 31st, the night and the morning. And I'm gonna do some skills stuff. It's for 2015s to 11s. And we're just gonna do skills stuff for fun, right?
Always.
So yeah. So you can register with me. Just let me know if you want to come. I'm sure lots of people are listening from around here. Anyways, okay, back on track. Poster pictures. Picture of you at the parade in Ravensburg made memories flood back to me. Because so looking up our timelines is when I was running amok in Germany was the 2 years you went back to the AHL.
Yeah.
So when I was good in that league, you weren't there. So we won it and we had a parade and it did get carried away, or I did. And they really know how to do it when you win in Germany, don't they?
Oh, it was amazing. It felt like it kind of like, well, I won this. Yeah, it was awesome to win in the league, but you're not thinking like that's Stanley Cup stuff. Like you get a
I
parade.
I I didn't think it was going to be what it was. I thought we won the second league in Germany. I'm like, well, that's cool, but like nobody really cares. We won in the second league in Germany, but then it's crazy. Like they really, really care. It is like the NHL.
It was, yeah. You're kind of getting, all of a sudden you're on these cars and you're waving at people, and everyone's downtown, and then there's thousands of people. You're thinking like, wow, this is, yeah, totally unexpected. I mean, I was, my German, I was getting not bad at it, but not good enough to like say speeches or anything. And I'm the captain of the team, and we won this thing, and I'm like, there's no way in hell I can get up there and say anything. Like, I'm just gonna butcher this thing. So, anyways, they had a couple of assistant German guys that went up and helped out. And yeah, but it was what a memory. What a memory.
It is a memory for me, though. Mine got, I've told this story before, but I better tell you. So when we won, we didn't know there was a parade because we didn't think it was, like we won and it was a great night. We won in Munich, go all the way back to Bietigheim. It's like 2 a.m. They drop us off at this warehouse and you party with a live band till whatever time. Get home at like 7 a.m. And then we wake up at noon and everybody starts texting, like, what are we doing? Let's go for beers downtown. We're the champions. So we do. And we have a great time. And I had told everybody I was cutting my jeans off that I'd worn all year, short. And I did. And I went downtown with the fellows with short jeans on and my dog. And then they tell us there's a parade and that we don't have time to change or anything. So then I went to the parade with my dog and my cut off jeans.
Oh my gosh.
And,
Everyone's like, what is going on?
and I had drank too much. And I didn't know there was a parade, and that was the only reason. Beating hype. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know there was a parade. So
Yeah, we were doing the same thing. We were drinking. I think ours was over Easter weekend, and I remember being downtown, and they had those nice fountains, and the water was running, and then all of a sudden we look over, and the GM of the team's climbing this fountain in the middle of all these people because it's holidays, but I think our parade ended up being a couple days. We got enough notice, so we had a couple days later, but yeah, it went pretty hard, and that's when Levy, the one night we're at the sponsor thing, and he had the trophy, and he's like throwing across the cement. I'm like, what is going? Like, it just day after day for a few days, but
no,
what a time.
winning in Germany was like, it was like you would never I would have never thought I'd feel so special winning something, right?
Yeah.
They
Oh,
really
yeah.
do
You're
it.
right.
Okay, so you guys did have fun. Then you had the outdoor rink picture with the family. So is that a rink you built, or is that like the town rink?
No, that yeah, like we're lucky. I don't know if you guys have the outdoor rinks and stuff. So at Christmas time, we'll usually try it because everyone's got a bit of time off. We'll try to get out there and do the outdoor rink thing with the family, and yeah. So that's just a picture of that. I think that one is actually up in Red Deer, which is about an hour and a half from Calgary. And that's with I was on my family's my parents' place, not too far from there, on a field where they have like a skating rink and then like a boarded rink.
Okay. So the other poster pic I was going to bring up is you training pumping iron, but that's the studio.
Oh yeah, that's
So how long have you guys had that?
It'll be 9 years in January. Well, I guess we had a little break there for about a year and a half with everything that was happening.
Yeah, no kidding. And like for businesses like that, it's like, how do you deal with that, all that baloney? So hopefully you guys get her all rocking again and it's all good, right? Because 9 years, that's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, right?
Yeah, you feel for the people, the clients that stuck with you. You want to make sure that you can keep them going. It's such a nice community. It's a community in a different way, right? And it's nice to keep people active and healthy.
Last poster picture question: father son playing together. What was that?
Oh yeah, they did that in a bit of in Bantam, whatever that is now. U15. Yeah. So they had a father son game, and that was the kind of the game where I was like, okay, I still got him for now. For now, I kind of thought, yeah, I still got him. I can keep up with him, but this is going to turn here in the next couple of years. I'm not going to be able to stick with it.
I can't imagine my son being able to beat me at hockey. That will be a day that'll be tough to deal with, but I haven't been playing much.
Me either.
Yeah. So growing up in Red Deer, you did say you're from Red Deer, right? That's where your parents are from?
Yeah.
How far away is that from Calgary then?
So Red Deer is kind of right in the middle of Edmonton and Calgary. It's exactly an hour and a half each way. So there's a lot of Oilers. That's kind of called the divide. Like you can be an Oilers fan or a Flames fan. So you're kind of neutral with territory there.
So were you a Flames fan?
Well, so growing up in the 80s, it was the Oilers we all know the Oilers, and then the Flames were right there. So I remember we used to always go up to Edmonton to watch a lot of hockey games with my dad. My dad would take me maybe one time a year, and that's where we'd go up to Edmonton. So I remember
you're an Oilers fan.
I don't know. I remember liking Edmonton, but I also remember cheering for Calgary too. Maybe who was ever good at the time. That's probably who it was.
That's how that is how kids are though, right? It's like, yeah, my kid said Colorado's favorite team. Now I'm like, yeah, no shit. Yeah.
Like Colorado, yeah.
Well, and people like winners, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
That would have been a good time to be around there, though. There were some good squads there, but then it's neat that Draisaitl's an Oiler, right?
Oh man, and he's actually really to the point that we've talked about this a little bit before. Like if you message, like I know I messaged him a couple times, he'll respond right away. Like I showed my son that, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "Take a screenshot. I got to show my buddies." Like you're messaging with Draisaitl. I was like, "Well, yeah." He was like a little punk kid when we saw him. And,
well, tell that little punk kid to get in the shed.
Yeah, I should. Yeah, he'd probably love it. Keep taking him.
Seriously, that'd be fun. God, because he was. Probably, I guess he would have been watching when I was playing for Bietigheim against Benny, right? Because Benny and I played against each other for years.
He would have been, yeah. Peter was there. He was around. He was around a lot.
If Leon Draisaitl told me he knew who I was, my heart might explode.
Yeah. You should try to get Peter stuff. Get Peter on here. Peter to his dad, and
we should. Gosh darn right. I like talking to the dads about the hockey stuff because there's some confusing shit that goes on. Raising a boy in hockey
story, right? Like a German kid like that journey to the NHL, like that's totally different than anything we've ever done, right? Like,
well, like the Mannheim thing, right? They have like the hockey factory in Mannheim where the fellas go.
Yeah, interesting.
It is. Well, just like your son's brief time in Germany was different then, right? Like it's interesting for me as the minor hockey my son's getting raised in right now is a small town. You play with your buddies from home. You're from around here. And like then there's city kids that it's different. You can bounce around teams and whatnot. And I don't know. I think living in a city is different than what we do here. And they're a team. They are a team.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all buds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anywho, okay. Jeepers creepers. Brad Stewart was on your team, eh? You grew up with that guy then?
Yeah, Brad and I played. It was awesome. Brad and I played midget hockey, bantam and midget hockey. Played for 2 years together, and he was a pretty top high pick in not the bantam draft. I think he was actually late pick in the bantam draft, third round. But then Regina took him right away, and then he'd gotten drafted, and then we traded for him when we went to that year. We went to the Memorial Cup. He came in, and so he moved in. Actually, him and I lived together for the few months, which was awesome. It was so great to do that. And like that, what his path was going to the NHL after that, and mine was going to be a lot different. But we had that.
You couldn't have known that with everything you were doing in junior. You played on the World Juniors. We haven't even talked about that yet. Yeah. But I'm not done yet. Okay, I'm still in Red Deer. Can't move on yet.
Good. Okay? Yeah, keep it there.
There's a Sutter family fell on your team.
Got it.
Huh?
Yeah, Sean Sutter. Yeah.
Research team was hot. So
that's Brian. Yeah, well, that's Brian Sutter's son, and he had just stopped coaching. I don't know if it was Boston. Maybe he just stopped coaching from Boston, and came back. And him and I knew each other because my dad and his dad played junior together. So I knew Sean quite well. We kind of growing up and seen him in the summers when they'd come back to Sylvan Lake. And so we played there. And then actually Sean, same thing. Sean, my last year in junior in Calgary, he ended up in Calgary too. And now Sean's with the Red Deer Rebels working for his uncle Brent. He's like the head, kind of the assistant GM guy, and he kind of does all the development, scouting, and he's pretty good at it. He's been doing it a long time, still in the game.
No, that's cool. And that, like, I talk about it, and the shed it's interesting. The genetics of hockey is like, you see a lot of sons playing after dads played. And like, then I click on that kid's name and it's like, these are his uncles, these are his cousins. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot of hockey players. Oh, yeah. You know?
A lot of tree.
Sorry, you're cutting out on me there. I paused you just for a second. I don't know what's going on here. You good? You there? I don't know where we were. Do you?
Talking about the Sutter family, I think.
Yeah. So that's Red Deer.
They Red Deer. Well, Brent and Brian, they were based out of Red Deer, and I think two were based out of Viking, like Daryl, and I think Dwayne. And then Rich and Ron were kind of based out of Lethbridge. I think that's kind of where they all ended up after their playing days. And so that's how I know Sean. Our dads played together in junior A and back in the day. And that was it.
A dog over there?
Yeah. What
kind of dog you got?
Just a little mutt. Sean. Shih Tzu.
Oh, one of those little ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Little one. Yeah. Scratching all over here.
Okay. But yeah, it's pretty interesting how many hockey fellas came out of one family. Like, that's nuts.
It's crazy. It's still going, to your point. Like, there's still guys playing.
Well, that family tree, though, like those guys that are playing now, I bet you they're going to breed with someone.
Yeah, exactly.
What weird, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good breeders, those Sutters are, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. So from Red Deer, though, you basically grew up playing for Red Deer. Is that like AAA then? You're going to Edmonton and Calgary to play teams?
Yeah, that would be it. They have I think they'd have a AAA league. I want to say it's like 10 or 12 teams within the province. And yeah, they have like a national or an Alberta championship, Stanley Cup, I think is that right? No, maybe that's junior A, but they have like a national championship if you can get there.
Well, so then you get drafted to the Calgary Hitmen, right? Because you're going major junior. So how old are you when you're going there? Like 15, 16?
For 14, you get drafted that after your 14-year-old year. So you can't go the next year, you can go the year after. and I went as a 16-year-old, but that was like quite a year. You probably don't have the notes on
I
this. So
do actually. I do. Do you want me to
sure.
say my note? Minus 56.
Oh, no, yeah, that was a tough year. So backtrack to
Tough
training
year.
camp.
Minus
Yeah.
56.
The first year the team played, I wasn't there. They won 18 games. And this is Graham James. So this is quite a story, right?
Oh no,
Graham
really?
James, yeah. So Graham James is there. I go into training camp and I make the team, and we have a day or two in between to get back. Camp was in Drumheller, which is about an hour from Calgary. They said, okay, get back to Calgary. We practice this day at this time. And Graham James is around this time. And everyone kind of heard like rumblings going around that, like the rumblings going around at that time where it's like Graham's gay. Okay, whatever. Like that's, whatever happens. Not happens. But I don't think people were too worried. They kind of heard like that was the rumblings. I remember being a 16-year-old hearing that. And then I get a call from Graham. I'm rooming with a guy that had left to camp to go to camp. He wasn't drafted or anything. He was going to Vancouver's rookie camp. And I get a call from Graham, and Graham calls and said, "Hey Matt, how's it going?" Okay, good, Graham. Was Duke Ryan there? That was the guy's name, Ryan Shannon. Duke there? No, he's left for camp. He's gone. He's like, well, I just wanted to call and let you know, some things are coming out here in the next couple of days. Want to wish you the best of luck. I have to step down, blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking it's because like he's gay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, stepping down because at that time, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's what's happening. So I just said, appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah.
The opportunity, and then obviously 2 or 3 days later, this bomb gets hit, and it's just trying to start a season, the team wasn't very good last year, very young team this year. Right away, we have, to the Hitmen's credit, they had, psychologists in there right away talking to each kid. And it was quite an interesting time. And we didn't really have a head coach that year permanent guy until around Christmas time. And then he kind of took over at that point and the team started to change. And then the next year we started to get better. But yeah, what a, what a time. I can just only imagine.
That's your first few months away from home too, then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 First couple months, it's like, what is going on here? Like, this is, you don't sign up for stuff like that. And I don't think anyone even knows how to deal with it. Everyone included involved, whether you're an adult or the kid or the coach, or, assistant coaches, manager, like it is a bomb being hit, right?
That's nuts. That would have been very tough. And then it makes sense why the team's so bad and why you're minus 56, right? Like I always talk about in the shed is happy hockey players play better, right? And it's like that nobody would have been happy and nobody would have been enjoying anything to do with anything at that point.
Yeah, it was a tough, but they had to have the right guy. The next move they made was to bring in the right guy who was just bringing in a sense of stable and workout, like focus was, being a team. And
well, so that makes it all the more impressive what your squad did then the next 3 years, because you went from that season to, I have written down here, the next 3 years you played 18 playoff games, 21 playoff games, and then 13 playoff games.
Yeah.
So that's quite the turnaround.
Big time turnaround. Yeah. It started to happen the next year. The team got better. We brought in a couple older guys that were really important. And then the next year, I think they actually didn't think we went the year. I don't think they thought we were going to go, but that was the year after that year. And we went to the Memorial Cup, lost in the final in overtime to Ottawa. And
you
then
lost the Memorial Cup in overtime to Ottawa.
Yeah, that one was stung because Ottawa had a really good team. I think there'd be like a few guys. Kilray was the coach. Brian Campbell was kind of like the stud. And they got beaten out in the first round or second round. And
sat around for weeks and then ended up winning it.
That one stung, right? You lose to a team that's the Memorial Cup, but it'd be nice to lose to a team that played the best of 7 rounds and mucked it up and
earned it and was there. On mucking it up. Yes. Yeah. Because you do have to muck it up to win the championship. And that is one thing about the Memorial Cup I just never did get my head around, is like, it is kind of like a kids tournament when you invite that fourth team to just come play with the winners.
Yeah, come and win. And then they beat you.
And then they beat you and win it. And then they're holding a trophy that your teams have won whatever 21, 28 games to get there, and
Yeah.
then they hung
Yeah,
out, and then they win
big
the
party
biggest
in
one.
Ottawa, at home, downtown. It's just buzzing, sold out crowd. We're the Memorial Cup champions. Ottawa's the Memorial Cup champions. Host team lost in the second round.
I'm trying to think who's on that team. It's before my fella Rodney Bobbin was on when they lost the Memorial Cup. But yeah, anywho. Okay. Yeah, that sucks. But your team really did turn it around though. So you guys that was your third year, right?
Yeah. So first year was a Graham James year. Second year we were a little better. Third year we're good. Probably the fourth year.
When do you get drafted?
I didn't get drafted as a 17-year-old. That would be the second year I had an injury, but I got drafted the next year. After that Memorial Cup year, so the year I got drafted as an 18-year-old. Yeah.
So you could have been drafted the year before, weren't?
Yeah.
And then you ran such a muck, you went 5th round the second year.
Yeah, and it didn't hurt. We had a couple studs on our team that were projected the top 10. So a lot of eyes were kicking around, especially in Calgary. A lot of guys, a lot of people kicking around. So that probably didn't hurt.
Well, Brad Moran is the guy you were talking about that they did retire his jersey. And I did tell you I had a story about him. So this was at the Big Blue Tent. My career's over. My knee's gone. I'm watching this in Cardiff, Wales. It's a small barn. He cuts across the middle to take a wrister from the high slot. Our captain, Tyson Marsh, is back checking as a defenseman and is coming from the other side and crushes him. I thought it was a clean hit. I thought the guy should have his head up and know a guy's coming, right?
Yeah.
Marshy crushes him. But he's like their captain in Nottingham. So he crushes him. That game ends. Our team goes to Nottingham the next game, and Cam Jansen's on the team. And he basically tells Marshy, like, we're going because of that hit. Still clean, but I do get that if you hit a captain that hard. So he's our captain, Tyson, and he says, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's get it over with. And he went to grab a hold of Cam, missed him, didn't get a hold of him, so they just started chucking and got hit with one, and then was in the quiet room for months, and he had just had a newborn and had a tough go there for months. And I watched it, and I still thought it was all over a clean hit over a guy that had his head down. And but it's tough, like, because then you see the repercussions of it. And that was old school hockey, but like he did try to grab a hold of him, but he missed him. And like he blamed himself, and he would tell me, like, I started throwing because I missed him when I went to grab, and then like he got hit with one. And man, like, yeah, he came back for the playoff weekend that year, and that was it. But it's interesting, right? And like the small hockey circle is when I see that guy's name, that's what I think of. And it's like ingrained in my brain that like him getting hit, which it wasn't a hit to the head, and he was not hurt. It was hit right in the chest hard, then turns into Cam Jansen wanting to fight you. And then you know, tough bounce for
that's
yeah. But anywho, so he did really good though in junior A. Sorry. Sorry to bring the mood down.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to fight Cam Jansen. If Cam Jansen fought me, I would not be turning on the lights for a while either. So,
tough man.
Yeah. So that playoffs, the Memorial Cup year, Pavel Brendel had 46 playoff points, and Brad Moran had 42 playoff points, and you had 30.
Yeah.
Heck of a power play then, or what?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Pavel Brendel was always kind of an interesting story. That year he came in. I remember trying to count. I think he scored. He was a 17-year-old kid. No one knew who he was. He just came in. We didn't even know who he was. He came in, first game, scored a couple goals, and everyone's like, whoa. And then he just never looked back. I think he scored 72 goals in the regular season. I'm not sure what he had in the playoffs. Is a lot. And then a couple more in the Memorial Cup. I think he put his stick up 100 times, over 100 times that year. Like it was incredible. And maybe a kid who had too much success too quick. So he was obviously a key component on the power play. I played the top, and I had him to give it to. and Brad Stewart on the other side. It was pretty, Moran's in there as well. It's a pretty
Yeah.
good guys to get it to. And I did Pavel that year. I think he got drafted 4th overall to the Rangers, and I think it was just a European kid from Czech that had too much success too quick, because back then they'd signed you, and he signed for like $1 million signing bonus. And so I remember having a conversation with Pav, and Pav's like, well, $1 million to me is like 20 million to you guys. Like like I can set up my parents. I can, I just, and he kind of played like that. He packed it in kind of like he still had good junior careers for the next 2 years until he went pro, but he never figured it out because he didn't have.
Yeah. Lost a bit of the hunger too, right? And like just lost his way. That could happen. Yeah, for sure. Must have been talent though. That would have been a power play though, eh?
Score though, man, he scored back then. Like I've never seen a guy who could anticipate the play. I mean, there was a red line, but the amount of breakaways this guy, and if he got on breakaway, he was just, he was money. He very rarely missed a breakaway, but he'd anticipate the play. He was almost 5 seconds ahead of everyone. If you read the turnover, and I would just throw it up there knowing he was up there, and he'd go, and he was gone.
Well, and the one thing I guess I'm just thinking of in my brain, I don't know why, but is he's a Czech guy, right? He comes over to Calgary and then just absolutely runs amok and is just the king of the castle. That would be a lot for a 17-year-old to deal with everything, right? And then like you become this guy that everybody's pulling in different directions, and then like you could get tired and not have the same edge when you're getting to the rink, right?
Totally, yeah. And he'd be signing like these upper deck cards, and it's for money. And I was like, oh my god, this guy's like, yep. he was a character.
Okay, well, you played for Team Canada in the World Juniors. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
So I would have been probably one of your biggest fans, because one of the guys on the squad was Jason Spezza and Bowmeister, which are my age, right? Like, so that was my age just making the World Juniors. So I was like watching those games, like give Spezza a shift, like play him, right?
Yeah.
So you were on that team. God, that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, you look at the list after and you're kind of like, wow, like those guys are awesome. That was a big deal. I remember a lot of media, because at camp, I believe, was in Kitchener, and the talk was Spezza and Bowmeister, the 2 youngest kids at that time, to make the team. And I don't think there was any doubt that they were gonna make it, man. And the nice time was just gonna be, dependent on how that all shakes out when you kind of get going. Yeah, it is.
Okay,
and
let's not even talk about those two. They've had a good enough career. I don't care about them. Okay, I want to talk about you. So how did you find out you were making it to camp? And like, because you would have not been drafted the year before, and then you're straight up running amok that you get invited, or no?
Yeah, it goes quick. I think I went to summer camp, so that's a big group, and no one really knows the group. The guy who was there wasn't even the head coach by the time the Christmas came along. I don't know how they announced it. I want to say it was announced on TV, and that's, or maybe like something like that. Like I remember thinking that is how I heard about it. And then you're on the list, and then away you go, right? And then you're at camp. And so my roommate,
did you like find out like from TSN, like they put up the list and you're like, holy shit, that's my name?
Yeah, that was how. I mean, we didn't have all the stuff we have now. It was like on there,
sure,
and then
don't. Yeah.
The next day, like yesterday's news is today's news, and so that's how we found out. And then when we got to camp, the training camp, I was rooming with Mike Ribeiro had come back. I think he was in Mike Ribeiro was in Montreal. I could be wrong. He was there. Or, I think that's where he was. Maybe Dallas. I don't know, something. He was one of those NHL teams, and he came back, and he was my roommate. So back then, it used to be, you got the call, and then TSN was there watching you walk out the door at 6 a.m. So I always knew if the phone rang at that time, it was me going. It wasn't.
It wasn't Ribeiro.
Not Ribeiro going home. If that phone rings at this time,
be hard to sleep for those kids, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I've always wondered that, because you see it on TSN where like they're opening the door and they're like, or the kids leaving and stuff, and you're like, man, like those kids were just trying to sleep.
Yeah, but that's how they did it. I think they do it different now, but that was how it was. It was like 6 a.m. Grab your bags. We want you out of here before. everyone else wakes up like, okay, thanks guys.
Well,
Like,
and why would you do it that way? Why is that acceptable? Can you explain that to me? Because that makes no sense.
Get these guys out of here. We don't want them around any longer.
Yeah,
Not one
they
more minute.
cannot wake up and be near the rest of them. They'll make them, they'll infect them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, that's weird. But making the team and not getting the call, eh? That would have been
Yeah.
cool.
That was awesome. I mean, I remember getting calls at that time from the radio stations. I remember that day it was just designated to do a team picture, and pretty much things are going fast, and you're like, well, I got a pack. We're going to Sweden, and then I think we bust into Toronto before we left. And I remember, I think it was Garth Butcher and Mike Gartner came in and talked to the team before we left, and never on a flight, and never in Sweden, in northern Sweden, in the middle of nowhere, really. Like, they were like, what's going on here? So when things started to happen fast, and you're a lot of adrenaline, you can't really rest, and you're trying to settle everything down, and you're excited, and yeah, it was quite.
I just literally couldn't ever imagine making Team Canada for the World Juniors, because that is the tournament that every kid and even every adult watches. That's if I'm going to watch hockey, I'd want to watch that, because it's kids not making money that are playing for the love, right?
Yeah, so true. Yeah. And the year before it was in Winnipeg. I don't know if you remember that. And they had an old Winnipeg arena, and they lost to Russia in the final and overtime. And so the crowd was going crazy. Well, it was like the complete reverse in Sweden. There was no fans. We were this, but everybody back home is watching it. So like, you're just playing on that. How many millions of people are on their television watching it? This is the thing to watch.
And there's no fans in the barn, eh?
Not the one, yeah, no fans in the barn. It was like,
and it's bizarre that the World Juniors in Canada is literally TSN made. It is just it's just an under 20 tournament, and there's an under 18, there's an under 17, there's all these other tournaments, but TSN has made the World Juniors into what it is, right? Totally. Like, the rest of the countries are like, yeah, the under 20 team's going there to play, but like, yeah, TSN's made this into, and it's fantastic they've done it, because like every Canadian, especially hockey guy, like that's where you see the next superstars, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I remember Bob McKenzie being in between the boards and even between the benches, and he'd be like talking, and so you knew he was on TV, and you were like kind of sitting kind of close to him, and you're listening to what he's saying. Like, it was, yeah, you're like living in a dream. It was amazing. What a memory when you look back at the time. It's one of those things that you're kind of, I know that year we lost in the semifinals to Russia. It was a close game. And then I remember we played the US the next day, like right around, quick turnaround. We played that night, played the next morning, or like a noon game. And Todd McClellan was assistant coach. Claude Julian was a head coach. And we started off pretty slow. And Todd came in and it was like, I didn't fucking come this whole way to come home with nothing. At the time, you're kind of like, gold's everything. You want to win it. Yeah. Like, that's all you come for. We're Canadian. That's all you do. You want to win gold. Like, yeah. Some guys are feeling sorry for themselves. And I remember Todd McClellan came in and just was like, I didn't fucking come this whole way to not come home with nothing. And we ended up pulling our socks up. I think we were down like 4-1 after the first. We came back and we won it in an overtime. We were in the shootout.
So you do have a bronze medal then?
I do have a bronze medal. At the time, I felt like, oh, whatever. But I'm so glad I have that now.
Right, absolutely. Great. Yeah. Do you still have your second league German gold medal?
I do. You know what? I put it in a frame with a little picture, and I thought,
really?
Yeah.
Mine. So I was younger when I won. Mine didn't come out unscathed.
Didn't make it.
I lost the ribbon part around it, and then it got a bit tangled up. So yeah. I think I do have it somewhere, like just the actual metal part, but I don't know. So, yeah. I was younger, right? You don't appreciate it the same as when you're older.
Like, I'm going to win these things every year.
I don't know. I was just having a lot of fun, you know?
Good.
We better keep going. We may be here a long time, okay? But whatever. No, I'm not done yet with the World Juniors. Okay? Brandon Reed became like a coach in Denmark and whatnot. And I remember him playing in those World Juniors because he was a little right-handed shot. And I was like, how did a
Yeah.
little right-handed shot make the World Juniors? Everybody always tells me I'm way too little to do anything. And like, this guy's on the World Juniors. That guy had a great career, didn't he?
Was great. He was really. I think that tournament kind of propelled him into that to the next level in pro hockey because he had a really good World Junior. And at that time, I think they were hoping that we had Brad Richards, Manny Mahalcha would come back, Danny Heatley was there, and that Jamie Lundmark was another name. Like there's some pretty high scoring guys, and they did pretty good too. But Brandon kind of he kind of led the team, and that kind of like eyes are on you, right?
And you watch the World Juniors and you see like the guy that's doing it. Like he was the guy. I remember that. But yeah, Danny Heatley's another guy. I had his brother on, Mark. He's a shit guy. Yeah, played with him in Bietigheim, right? You would have played against him, wouldn't you?
Yeah, played against him. Yeah, I remember that. Munich and
yeah. Okay, what's the Lotto Cup? When you so I don't have many guys on that play for Team Canada, right?
Yeah.
What's the Lotto Cup? What's that?
The Lotto Cup was I was in Hartford at that time, the Rangers farm team, and they loaned me out for a tournament to go over there. And so when you guys have like we had those breaks in November.
So there's the Deutschland Cup in Germany. You got the week off. Then there's the Spengler Cup. But this is what country's the Lotto?
Lotto was in Slovakia. I think it was Slovakia. Right? Yeah. It's just a mini tournament, like one of those ones you'd have like for a Deutschland Cup. They had 3 or 4 teams. It must have been later on because I was there and then I wasn't supposed to go to the Spengler Cup and somebody couldn't come or got sick or hurt or something. And then I got hey, can Matt stay? And I was going with the trainers. Everyone was going back to play with their club teams for a couple of games. And I was going with these guys, the trainers, right to the Spengler Cup. I was like, this is great. Sure. Yes, why not? And I had no idea what the Spengler Cup was. Everyone's talking how great it is. And it's get to this arena. It's a beautiful arena and all the stuff going on outside. It was,
So you wouldn't have known much about European hockey yet because you're still in the AHL then.
Totally, yeah. That's my first experience over, yeah.
Because I always watch the Spengler Cup. It's right around the World Juniors, right? You watch the Spengler Cup, and I would always would watch it and be like, I kind of know that guy's name. I kind of know that guy's name, but I'm like, what is this? What I never knew what I was watching until you get over there and know everything about it, right? So yeah, it's interesting though. It's so folks that don't know, it's basically they get a team from each country, and they basically have it's like having a minor hockey tournament, right? But you get a team from each country in Europe, and you get Team Canada, which is mainly made up of European players, and then you get the odd fella from the AHL and stuff, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah, I think most of the guys from Switzerland because they had that break where Germany and some of the other teams didn't have that break. But yeah, they come in, and what the best part about that was I didn't realize at the time. The first time I went over, the second time I realized it because all these guys are on these Swiss teams with their whatever they are with a couple Canadian or North American guys, and then now you get to come in and now you're with all Canadians. Well, Hockey Canada does it up right. They're bringing in the Tim Hortons coffee, and first time we played played a game. I'm kind of I don't know if we lost, but I'm kind of getting undressed real quick, and I'm out the door and I'm waiting for everybody to come. But everyone would stay in, have a beer, maybe 2. It's their time to bullshit with the Canadian boys because you don't get that when you go back to your club team. I'm like, well, what are these guys waiting for? Let's get come on, we've got to get going here.
Let's go. Yeah. They would. It is different though. A locker room's different in each country. Each country's locker rooms are different. There's no doubt.
Yeah. It was awesome though. Those guys stuck around, and a few beers after, I was like, I could get used to this.
And you guys won it, eh?
Yeah, we won it. Yeah. That was great. I played one we won and then one we lost, but that was
I must have watched you on TSN way more than I realized, right?
Maybe here and there. You might have. Yeah.
Who knows? So gosh, we're bouncing around here, but did we talk about you getting drafted?
Yeah.
The 5th round, were you there?
No, I was told not to go. I mean, it was our second round time through it, right?
We're carrying on then. Moving on.
Yeah.
You guys did well in Calgary. You ran a muck, and they're supposed to retire your jersey. I don't know what they're doing. But anyways, so you signed an entry-level deal then with Buffalo, who drafted you?
No. So what happened, because I didn't get drafted as a 17 and got drafted as an 18, I played my 19 and 20-year-old years. And
And
then now
became a free agent, and the
yeah.
team that drafted you, you said, no, I'm not a fifth round pick. I want a higher signing bonus because the lockout hasn't happened yet, right?
Well, and that's before there's any salary cap. So all of a sudden you're kind of like a free agent. Yeah. So I had, probably think 5, 6 teams kind of looking at me. I mean, maybe looking back, the Rangers wasn't like the most best opportunity.
They had some money to maybe pay the big dog NHL guys that maybe it wasn't the best opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Looking back, that maybe, yeah, it's easy to say that now.
Another guy that might know that, it came out of St. Lawrence University, and you played with him with the Charlotte Checkers, Brandon Dietrich.
Yeah. Yeah. Brandon. Yeah. I did play with him for 1 year, maybe one year for sure. He's a really nice guy.
So fun fact is he is why I went to Germany and played for the Landshut Cannibals.
No way.
Yeah, they needed a guy to play with him on the wing, and he brought me over to play with him, who he is also an Elmira Sugar King, and I was his biggest fan growing up. And then I saw you played with him with the Charlotte Checkers, and why I wore number 10 and Pavel Bure.
Oh, Pavel Bure, yeah. He's a great guy. Super nice guy. I really like him.
I know. Awesome guy. So anyways, you played with him yet rookie year. So you signed then an entry-level deal, 3-year deal. Back when they were signing bonuses. They canceled that shit before I ever played. So your first year, you played 40 games in the A, but I was going to ask you, because I found it interesting. I leave college. I've always been the guy my whole life. I've always been like power play, first line, whatever. You go to pro to the AHL and you're like, you're on the fourth line. You're going to work your way up.
Good luck.
And then you went from just running an absolute muck of the WHL for 3 years to then going to the AHL, and like, it looks like no power play, a totally different role as a hockey player, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so many variables, right? Guys coming down, guys coming up, guys who were supposed to make it. I mean, and especially in New York at that time, like I remember like Sylvain Lefebvre coming down and Dave Karpa, like these guys were making like 2 million playing in the minors. And it was like, because at that time the Rangers could,
because there was no salary cap, they could do whatever, right?
Yeah. So that was like, we had a lot of that. And, you're not taking ice time away from Sylvain Lefebvre, who won a Stanley Cup. It's pretty tough. So he saw a bit of that, but there was also a great opportunity to learn, and then that kind of got a little bit better the next couple of years when they kind of sorted through that and got the opportunity to be more involved in situations.
Can I ask you then, because your rookie year, I only played 1 year in North America, and it was only on a one-way A deal with a team that didn't even want me. But when I got sent down to the coast, and I thought I had done well and done my best, I was really frustrated, and it kind of messed with me. When you got sent down to the coast, and you had probably got a bit of a signing bonus, you probably had a bit of, like, you thought things were going to go differently. In your rookie year, you get sent to the coast. Is it not really hard?
Oh, it's totally, yeah. It's super hard. It was the hardest thing, I think, because you're like, hey, I'm going to come in and I'm
going to run amok, right?
I'm a step away from the NHL. Like, what do you mean I'm going, like, now I'm 2 steps away? I struggled the first couple. I was really bad. I was a pretty consistent player, and I don't know if it was just mental, but I struggled for a couple weeks, and then that kind of got ironed out over time, and
bit of a reality check, right? And then when you go down there, and if you sulk a bit, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, like I'm not even doing good here.
and the coaches are funny there, right? Like they want to do well, so they, I remember when I started to kind of figure, get it turned around and stop pouting and, figure this out again and start playing well. A couple guys would get called up, and I was like, that guy's not playing. That guy's like one of our worst guys. Well, I'm going to call that guy up because I want my better players down here.
She's a business, and like everybody wants to look good, right?
Send this guy up. Who's playing well down there? Well, this guy's playing really well.
It's a very interesting game, isn't it? That's why there's so much to talk about in the shed, right?
Oh, I love it.
So
Yeah.
that's your first year though, and so you finished the playoffs in the coast. But you played 40 games in the A. So like it's weird, right? For me, I found it weird when I got to pro because I was always on a team. I went to Western Michigan. We're a team for 4 years. These are my guys for 4 years. Before that, 3 years in Elmira in my hometown. These are my guys. And then you get to pro and you're on one team one day, you're getting sent there one day. But then it's not just about you, it's about all the other guys that are coming in and out the door. And you're like, this is hockey. This is, I don't know. I was like,
Yeah.
this is not how I was raised to think of hockey, you know?
Yeah, well, no, and that was we talked a little bit the Calgary days. Like, here's a team that went through this Graham James thing, went all the way up, and we hit the peak, and we did it together. We were a team, and then
A
you get the
team.
pro, and it's kind of like it's all for yourself. It's like everyone's hoping that you're going to screw up, so this guy can get in the lineup. And this, I was like, this is not how I was. That's not how I played hockey.
You cheer for each other. You want each other to do good. And you're right though. You're a health bomb in the A. You're watching that game going, I hope this guy turns it over at the blue line so that I can get in tomorrow. Because, right?
Yep. And it wasn't the way we played. It wasn't the way we were ever brought up. And that was a big
drives me nuts.
Yeah. 100%. Trying to figure it out. But
so then when you like, not to just keep jumping around like I do, but like then you get to Europe and you're back to it being a team again. Right?
That's exactly it. You're going to training camp and everyone's pushing each other to get in shape and to get better. And
because you're a team and you're signed up for that team for the year, right? Like it's not an organization where there's 3 teams and you actually don't all know each other.
You're going to be there, right? You're a team there. You're getting ready for the season and you're pushing each other and you're working hard. You're doing a little extra. Hey, let's like, we're all team. Yeah. That's why Europe was so fun. And then you put the atmosphere of the fans on top of it. That just is like icing on the cake.
You're right. We should talk about that, but we have, so 2 years in Hartford though, you have 29 and 20 points. So you did get quite comfortable in the AHL with Hartford there. And did you ever feel like you were close to a call up then? 29 points as a D man. And like, you're not I'm not being a dick, but you're not that flashy of an offensive defenseman. You're more like an all around do everything guy, right?
Yeah. I did hear like we're going back in daytime. So that was New York and that was my 3rd year. So usually by the time you're up in 3 years, you'll get a call up. That's kind of like the unwritten rule. At that time, it's unwritten rule. We got to see we've invested. We're an investment. We got to see what our investment is worth. And at that time, I'd heard I was on the brink of getting called up. I started pretty slow my 3rd year and then kind of a really good finish. And towards the end of that year, but that year, Brian Leetch gets traded to Toronto. And then I think they brought 2 defensemen back and now they can't send them down. And now it switches. So I think that kind of played a big part of why I didn't get called up because
it's crazy the dominoes that like people will never see. And like there's a trade that's for 1 defenseman for 2, but they have to do whatever to clear waivers and it changes a guy's life, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I did him that back then. I heard it through like the beat reporter in Hartford. He's like, yeah, you were supposed to get called up today and they've just made this I was like, well, why? Like, why tell me that? I could talk about it now and not, at the time we're like, oh, that could have been the chance, right?
Well, and then it gets in your brain, right? And like you were like, you don't even need to, like when you're a hockey guy and you've been striving for something your whole life, and then someone, it's It was like the day there was a couple fellas told me that like Syracuse was telling me to get an apartment. Like I had made the team, my preseason was good enough. I was on the team. And then they just didn't call and tell me that. And then like, it's like, oh, then another guy got sent down. And then actually you're going to go to Daytona Beach, Ohio for the year.
And you're stuck with the lease for an apartment, right?
Like, no, but they never did tell me to get the apartment. So thank you. I didn't have to pay for that. That was nice. But okay, so you never did get the call up. Better keep going or we'll be here all night, right?
Yep.
You go to Salzburg. How did you decide then? You just had 29 points in the AHL.
That was lockout year. That was a lockout year.
Oh
So they
God,
had no
that's
room.
why.
The two D men they were designated to push down because they were still young enough to play in the American League. So they said, "Go get a spot, go to Europe." And so
Well, even getting a spot in Europe's not easy at that point.
it was not easy. Yeah, and I think Salzburg was coming up really late. They were really bad that year, and ever since they've been good. But because they had the money through Red Bull, obviously. But yeah, they it was really late getting
So
over
you
there.
weren't a Red Bull team that year?
They were Red Bull. They came up. They never came up to the top league, and they got. It was really late announcement. I don't know if someone folded, but they pulled up and they tried to put a team together. The team was really bad, really
Right.
bad. During that year, they ended up bringing a few NHL guys that had been locked out by the end, but it was too late because the team had started off so terrible.
Those lockouts mess up everything though, eh?
Yeah, really, it's kind of looking back, like for guys of us who played in Europe, for guys to come over and take spots, it's yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one, right?
Well, it is, right? Because there's guys over there making careers and livings and like that's what they do. And then like for me, I found it very bizarre, especially the way I'm raised in hockey, where it's about winning the championship at the end of the season. They're talking about this lockout being over by Christmas. And then these teams in the second league in Germany bring in all these NHL guys and are paying insurance and paying them so much money every month. And it's like, but they're leaving at Christmas.
Yeah,
You don't win anything at Christmas. You win at the end of the year and you win with the guys you had through it all. And it's like, why wouldn't you invest in a team that's going to be there through the whole thing than like paying these NHL guys that are going to come for a couple months? And then I'm not saying this about my teammates. I'm saying about other teams I played is that the NHL guys cared the least. They worked the least. They didn't care who won or lost the game. They were there to put on a show.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, they were just yeah, it wasn't fair to the guys who were, you know, that was their life and the jobs that we all kind of bank on, and these guys come in and take them for a few months, right?
Well, and those coaches and GMs just thought it was so cool to sign an NHL player. And it's like, well, like, why is it so cool? Like, we all used to play college and but like everywhere else together. We all know each other.
Yeah, so true.
It's not that cool. They just get paid millions now.
Yeah, they're not millionaires on TV.
But no, like it's not like they got more fans because of it. It's not like the team made more money. And it's like, isn't hockey about winning championships? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Thinking out loud again. Gosh, I should stop. Okay. What food do you miss most from Germany? Or anywhere, actually, not just Germany. You were in Austria, you're in Switzerland.
Well, I think German food. I mean, that's where we spent the most of the time. I mean, the schnitzel and the fried like that. How do you beat that? That stuff's pretty darn good, right? The schnitzel
Yeah.
and hummus, like that's top
The
top shelf.
pommes, right? Like their fries. They do a high-end fry game, don't they?
So yeah, they know what they're doing over there. And even the brought like the bun with the sausage like that. You know, it's not even a. It's like
And
a
then there's different
bun for a
sausages,
Philly
right?
sandwich.
There's a whole bunch of different sausages, and like every sausage they do, like they do it right, you know?
It's tough to find. You can't find. It's tough to find, and you can't find. I haven't found a place by us
You
that
can't.
make it like that. Yeah, even
No.
the pretzels were great. Like it's tough. You can't even find the pretzels. The big
What
pretzels.
when it's all made fresh, right? Like it's all made from scratch, right? It's
Yeah.
I talked to Hammer, my buddy from Beatingheim in the shed, and when I bring up like cooking food, and he's like, well, you just make it like from scratch. And it's like, oh, right.
Yeah.
We don't really do that here.
No, we don't. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a lot bigger fridges and freezers than they do, right?
Gosh, that was like a little bar fridge. That was all you had. You're picking up food every day.
Because it doesn't last as long.
Yeah. Yeah.
First time you drove on the Autobahn. Do you remember it?
Ooh. No, I do remember.
Do you remember the fastest you drove?
I remember the guy picking me up when I went to Salzburg. The guy picked me up as a Finnish guy in Munich. We are going to Salzburg, I think, which is not too far, maybe 2 hours. And he was in this little sports car, and we had like my wife and I. She was pregnant. She had like we had all our bags and the stuff in the back of this like little. I don't know how we got it all in the sports car, And this guy is humming, and he's going like got the dart and the crack of the window up there, and we're flying. I'm thinking like, one, it's raining outside. Two, you're smoking. Like my wife's pregnant,
And you're jet lagged to
and
hell.
jet lagged, and you're like flying at like 180. He's like, I got the owner's car. Here we go. Like 2 hour trip was maybe an hour and a bit. He was flying. I do remember that. Fastest I ever went on the Autobahn. I don't know if I ever got it too much more over 200, but like you can comfortably drive on the
It's all
Autobahn.
up to the car, right? That's
Yeah.
what I've always been curious about people in Canada and like the US is like, why do you buy the cars that can go 300 if you're not allowed to drive them? In Germany, it makes sense. If you have the money, buy a car that goes really fast because then you're allowed to drive it that fast, right? Like
If you have a good car, you can comfortably drive because everyone obeys the rules there. Like you can
they get
comfortably drive.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. You
You
can
got to get to
comfortably
the
drive the
right.
speed
If
you
you're not
want.
going fast, get over.
Yeah, I like their mentality. It's like if you're gonna drive this fast and something happens to you, it's on you. Like why regulate it? If
And
everyone obeys the rules, that's the biggest thing. If you don't like, you got to get over, right? They're
yeah,
coming.
oh yeah. I remember a couple of those cars that like you just hear it coming and then all of a sudden it's just gone.
Right by. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that was an interesting time. So did you ever go to Oktoberfest?
Went, yeah, and Straubing, the beer sponsor was Hacker Shore. So they kind of set us up with the Hacker Shore tent up above on the railing.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I think they even had the soccer, the second league soccer team or junior soccer team was there. Yeah, it was. I mean, that was dynamite. It was,
Fun times. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
great times.
Okay. So anyway, we went to Salzburg, right? So that year you guys sucked. So you didn't have the crazy coach with the crazy training camps that I had heard about over there.
Well, I missed training camp because the guy D-Man got hurt or left. He was already gone, and so I kind of came in just like a week before the season, or so I didn't have a lot of that training camp stuff. I got to
So
experience
so then you play that year in Austria, whatever, right?
Yep.
Better move on. The next year, do you sign in the Swiss A League?
Sign a Swiss A League.
So the
Yeah.
lockout's over. You've had your year in Austria, and then you sign the Swiss A League when like that
Rangers
must have been
actually.
you must have had some decisions to make that summer, right?
Well, no, like the Rangers, it was a weird way. I don't know how it all worked, but Rangers could just retain my rights. And this happened for 2 more years. So I went to Switzerland the next year, Switzerland, and played half the year in Germany after, and then played the next year in Germany. And then after that year, I'd signed back to go to Straubing, but I got the Rangers to finally drop me. I said, hey, can you guys, I want to come back. That's after the rules have changed. I'm thinking, oh, this is me. Like,
Why would they have your rights?
I don't know how it worked, but they retained the rights, the option just to qualify me, and they retained my rights, and they had them, and they could do whatever they wanted. So that happened. They could keep.
So they could offer you whatever they wanted, and you either had to eat it or go to Europe.
Yeah. So that's what happened. So then finally, I convinced them after the 2 years after Salzburg. I said, "Hey, can you want to come back and try?" And they finally let me go, and I went and signed with Ottawa that year and played on their farm team, and then San Jose, and then that was like, okay, go back.
Okay. One more though. Hold on. We're still in Switzerland. Okay, Swiss A.
Yeah.
You signed there. I can't imagine playing in that league. I played one exhibition game against them, and they were awesome at hockey and kicked the shit out of us in Bietigheim, but we weren't good in Bietigheim then. But anyways, so then mid-season, you do leave the Swiss A for Germany, and you play with Gunther Oswald, who I played with in Landshut.
Yeah, you're a great guy.
Beauty.
It was awesome. Yeah. So I left that year. I had a 4-month contract because they had a hurt defenseman in Switzerland, and he was close to coming back. And
so you knew you were there for 4 months.
You was there for 4 months, but they wanted to keep going month to month after that. And I went to the Spengler Cup, and there was some interest in Germany, and I was like, I want to stay, but the month to month, there's no guarantees. If you sign the last 4 months, I'll stay, but they didn't want to.
Isn't that interesting that like the player you are and the resume you got, you're on 4-month contract and then month to month? That seems strange to me.
Well, and I'm just going to play in the Spengler Cup. It seems so bizarre. Like I'm going to the Spengler Cup with Team Canada. Like just sign the rest of the year. It's pretty good
Pretty
must
simple.
yeah, it must be okay, right? It must be.
I must be doing okay. I'm playing in the Spengler Cup for Canada, but
Yeah, so then I went played the rest of the year in Ingolstadt, and then the next year I was with your buddy Gunter. He was great. What a guy.
oh yeah, he was. And that's my tale though, is like I didn't really like hockey that much when I played in the East Coast in the AHL. And then when I got to Germany to Landshut, I don't think there could have been a better fit of people on that hockey team in Landshut, Germany, of fantastic German dudes and imports that just all of a sudden I loved hockey again. And it was a team. We were a team, you know?
Yeah, that's the you sound very similar to I know we went different, obviously a little bit different paths, but ended up over in the same area. And that was exactly how I felt playing pro hockey. If you're in that mindset, it was nice to be back just playing hockey.
So when you went to the Swiss A League though, that fella Brad Moran was on that team too, eh?
Yeah, him and actually another guy by the name of Corey LaRose, a Canadian guy. I don't know if you know that name at all.
I do know the LaRose. Isn't there a Chad too?
I don't know if Chad. I
Is
don't
he
know if
related? But
maybe
anyways,
I'm not sure. But Corey, they were both on that team, and they kind of said, "Hey," I think the coach went to him and said, "Hey, do you have a D-man that would want to come?" And they were like, "Hey, yeah, we got a guy." So
and that's how it works though, right? You have to have a connection. And when I was so young and naive, and when Brandon Dietrichs called me to go to Germany, and I got a couple guys that called me and like, you said no. Why did you say no? Why don't you go? Do you think you're making the NHL? And I'm like, well, no, not with my body type. No, I don't think I am. And they're like, then why don't you go? And it does take guys knowing each other. And that's back from your WHL days, right?
That was back from them. Yeah, I played with Brad in WHL, and then Corey in Hartford. And yeah, they vowed, and I got
shed guys know shed guys. I bet you they're shed guys, aren't they?
Yep. Oh yeah, they'd be shed guys. Played in England. Get Miranda on, talk about the hit.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I like it. I mean, he knows his head was down. It was fine. He was getting old, right?
Get a video and
yeah.
Gotta get a video of that. That'd be great.
No, but like I mean, for shed guys, is like they're guys that like take care of their friends, and like they're not in it for themselves. They're that's kind of what I mean by
help out a guy. Yeah.
It's hard to define what a shed guy is, but shed guys know shed guys. I do know that. That's how you do so many episodes. Yes. It's like asking Levy who he wants to talk to out of Germany. And then I meet you and I meet Benny and I meet Big Dog. And I'm like, yeah, these guys are shed guys. And that's how
Drysaddle's on talking about Benny's. Like,
everybody, and Drysaddle's probably a shed guy, right? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. What do you think? Right? Why don't you come on? Okay. So, anyways, after Ingolstadt, right? So you go half season in Swiss A to half a season in Ingolstadt, right? Now we're going to Straubing. So I only know a couple guys on this team. Okay. Bill True. I know him because I was the one that he got his German pass and Landshut. So then I came in as the import and he went to Straubing. Okay. Calvin Elfring's on that team. Trevor Gallant. He was the all-star for the Kitchener Rangers when I'm a young buck going to the Kitchener Ranger games going, God, this guy's really good. And he's a little fella, right?
Yeah, he was a little guy and he was skilled. He had a really good year that year. He was a good player. He had he had a bunch of kids and he lived below me and he got a little hothead. You could hear him now and then screaming at the kids but he was a really nice guy and very skilled player.
I remember going to Kitchener Ranger games, watching him as a young punk, right?
Yeah.
Cam Severson was on the team. He was one of the old fellas on the Syracuse Crunch. What are they called? Not imports. The opposite.
Yeah.
Veterans.
Yeah.
So he was one of the veterans on the Syracuse Crunch when I first leave Western Michigan, and I'm one of the punks showing up. Cam Severson, he was on that team too, right?
Yeah, Cam was a kind of a knucklehead. He bounced around a lot of places. He's a nice guy, but he was,
Oh, yeah.
Player.
He was
grinder,
rough and tumble.
Yeah, dropping the gloves. Yeah.
Toby Abstreiter.
Yeah. Yeah.
His brother, Peter, was my line mate in Landsuit. And then Toby became the GM of the Straubing Tigers, right?
Yeah, I think he's still involved in hockey over there. He's doing the Olympics the one year I saw. He was a really nice guy, and Peter was really nice as well. And I think isn't Oswald married to the
That's right. That's the brother-in-law. That's Gunther's the brother-in-law. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a small world in the shed, folks. So I only know a couple more on that team. Well, I'll end it with your backup goalie was my starting goalie winning the championship and beating Heim. Silo Martinovic.
I was going to say Martin Vick. Yeah, but yeah, that was him.
That's right.
And I think they were always projected to get him to it. Like he was going to be a starter. I remember that.
He was our starter in beating Heim when we had the New York Yankees of the second league, where we just beat everybody. And I still really think that if I could go back in time, I would love to have our beating Heim team that won play your Ravensburg team that won and the Munich team that won, because I'd like to see what would happen.
Yeah, those are three pretty good teams.
Yeah. You weren't around for our beating Heim team.
I did see beating Heim. I did see the Munich one because we lost to them the year
right after. Yeah, you lost to Munich after we beat them the year before, and then our budget went down, and then I stuck it out.
Yeah, good loyal guy.
Yeah. Shoot. Everything works out for a reason, right? So after that, though, after Straubing, so you must have liked it. Those are a lot of good dudes, though, on that team, right?
Great. Yeah, I signed to go back, and then this opportunity came back to go back home, and I wanted to try it one more time. Yeah,
you wanted to try and make it again.
I just thought the game had changed. I thought it was more suited, but I think what happened is there was a group of guys, probably, I don't know what I was, around 27, 28. That group of guys, probably around 25 to 28, they kind of got lost. I think we all got lost in the shuffle a bit because it was going so young, and then they're getting rid of old. And I think the guys in between kind of got lost. Not saying that was an excuse, but I think, there's a few age groups there that was just kind of stuck.
And those lockouts, man, they jam up everything, man. Like it changes everything. And it's the same with all the baloney that last a little bit. Like it changes things for guys, and their careers. But okay, so Straubing, you go back home, sign with the Senators then.
Yeah.
25 points that year. Feel close to a call up. How old are you?
I think I'm I get in the high 20s, maybe not quite, not 28, 29, maybe 27, 20, somewhere around there. We had a pretty good year that year. I played with I actually played some exhibition games at the start of the year. I think there was a guy or two ahead of me, so that maybe you limited the chance to get there. There was a coaching change too halfway through the year. John Paddock, I had him my first year pro with Hartford, and then he got kind of let go halfway through. So I think that kind of limited the opportunity to call up. So
have a guy in your corner. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's different though, right? Like you went from the team atmosphere to back to North America. It's got to be weird going back. I never went back. I couldn't imagine going back. What was it like going from it back to people are in it for themselves? Were you trying to teach them? I
think as a player, I was a little bit more knew what I was and not afraid. I knew what was there if I had to go back, so I wasn't afraid to be if I don't want to make that, my career is over. I knew that was going back to. So I think that was good. And I think down when we were in Binghamton, we had a great group of older guys. We had a lot of fun that year. We were running mucks on the road. We were having some good times the night before games. Some guys playing guilty the next day, and we had a good group of guys.
And you know what? When you look back on those AHL days, when I first went to Syracuse, there were so many old fellas, and they did run mucks, and they enjoyed hockey and they were having fun. And there could be 8 veterans on a team and only 5 are playing. Well, they're having fun playing hockey. right?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and you kind of know more who you are and what you are and the type of player you are and the, the
You're not a
message.
kid anymore.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not a kid. Yeah, you kind of like, nah, you let that go. That's nothing. Or yeah, you know what? Like I gotta buck down here. You know, like, I think that was pretty good, and the team
Mhm.
was a good group of guys for sure.
So then after that year, though, you signed 1 year with the
San Jose,
Senators.
yeah, San Juan Senators, and then yeah, we signed with had a couple offers, one from Detroit, one from San Jose. Probably looking back, I should have maybe had the Detroit. I think that would have been a better spot, but with San Jose I just thought the travel would be better. I kind
So,
of
but
thinking
you
of
only
family.
played 3 games for the Worcester Sharks, and then you head over to Wolfsburg. So what happens there?
So what happens is I start off pretty good. They said 2 points in 3 games. I had 3 points in 3 games, and then I got healthy scratch for 3 straight games, and kind of the point that you and I were talking about. You're at the
Your
I
mental.
had a well, I'm just saying, like, hey, like I'm not healthy scratch for 3 games. I am not wishing. I'm at the point in my career where I shouldn't hope that a guy has to make a mistake to get in the lineup. Like, let me go back to Europe. And I actually had a 2 year deal to go to Krefeld. And by the time San Jose and I kind of like they let me go out of this contract because they're like, if we let you go, you can't sign with another team. I was like, no, I'm going. Like I'm gone. I'm going to Europe. And that by the time they all fell through, like San Jose kind of got their ducks in a row. That deal was gone. So then I'm sitting there thinking, like, I've just told San Jose to get rid of me. Someone's taken the deal that I was going to take in Crayfield, the DL for 2 years. I got nothing. So now I'm skating with a local team in Boston area, like a little junior team in
Is
Boston
that
area.
right?
Yeah, for about a month, and then finally Wolfsburg needed a guy, and I signed for the rest of the year to go there. So
It is pretty crazy though. Like I don't think anybody like less the I would say the casual listeners that aren't hockey guys. I think most of the people listening are hockey guys though, but which is cool to me. But for the folks that don't know, is like how fast the things happen with contracts in Europe, right? Like they could send out the offer to 2 guys, and it's like whoever takes it first has
wins.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like once it's gone, it's gone. There's no more import spots. They're gone.
Yeah, we can't sign another guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy like how fast shit happens. And they're like, you have to decide in the next 24 hours. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
And like when you talk to guys in your shed, like where you sign for a year and where you go and where you live changes a lot of shit in your life, right?
In a hurry. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It is interesting. So then you do get the gig in Wolfsburg, though, eh? So that would have been a relief. That must have been a mental pretzel. You got kids at that time?
Yeah, kids. Yeah, 2 kids. Yeah.
You have 2
Yeah.
kids and you're skating with the local team.
Skating with the local team for about a month, and then we came back because it was right around Christmas time. So I brought the family back, and then I get a call to go over there. So I go over, and I'm spending my by myself Christmas and New Year's, and then they came in the New Year and spent the rest. I think we were there till like we lost the first round of the playoffs. I think to Hanover, went on to win it that year. So it probably like maybe April, end of May, end of March, beginning of April, back at home.
Yeah. So it wasn't that long of a season then. Did you
Oh,
know you
yeah.
had some shed guys on that team?
The
David
few guys.
Danner.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
D-man. Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, he's been in the shed. He was a Hellbrand Falcon with me.
Oh no
How,
way.
yeah, he taught me how to put it in a car seat.
Oh,
Yeah. And
Andy.
I believe his real name's Alexander Gense, but Sasha Gense,
Yeah,
D-man.
yeah, yeah. He's a vet. He was there a long time. He's a veteran guy, just steady
So
Eddie. That
even after when he was done with you guys, he decided to keep playing hockey with the Bietigheim Steelers.
remember
And
that.
like he was old. He was like 43 on the point for us there.
Just steady. He was jacked though. Was he still in good shape? Like he
Right?
was.
No, like he was absolutely jacked and he would go do these workouts on his own. And like he had like an Arnold body, right? Like he was still jacked, but like it was an old body.
Yeah, and you couldn't tell when he was on the ice. You're like, but this guy's just
He just
ripped.
gives her. He just gives her. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. Kenzie.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys did play 10 playoff games that year. So you must have done all right. Looks like.
We had to play the playing round, and then we had to play then we played Hanover Day. I think we played Augsburg to get in. Yeah. And then we got played
Well,
Canada first round.
and the last small world one for you is the Bietigheim Steelers were running amok that year. That was the year we were awesome and won it. I was a Deutsche Meister and acted like a fool at the parade. But our 6th and 7th defensemen were DEL players in Bietigheim in the second league. Dirk Robel and Alexander Dotzer got called up to your team that year for like as a call up from Bietigheim, right. And they were our like 6th and 7th defensemen.
Weren't even good enough. Oh gosh.
And Dotzler ended up playing the next 15 years in the DL.
He was there. You're right. Yeah, he was there after. That's crazy, huh?
It is. That's how good our second league team in Germany was, folks.
Well, people don't understand the second league. I think after this year in Wolfsburg that you're talking about, I had a deal in Nuremberg to go to or Ravensburg, and I was getting paid more money to go to the second league than I was the first league. So I was like, kind of that time, you're like, hey, I guess.
Well, and then the other thing is like, then you get to play first line power play, penalty kill. You get to be the guy,
right?
You know, and make the same money. So just, you know, but then at the end of the day, if your resume says you played in the second league, right? And then people are like, oh, right. But, you know,
it didn't matter.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, at that time, it's like, well, whatever. I mean, this is great.
I loved playing in the second league in Germany. You get to be first line power play, first line penalty kill. You got to be the guy. You're on a team. You're part of a team. Nobody's going up and down. Like, and it's on you guys to figure out if you win or lose, right?
Yeah, that's good. It's a healthy pressure. Yeah, you're in it. You have to be on your game every year. You know you're going to be a part of the game every game you're in. And the outcome of it, right?
If you're an import and you're not part of the game, you're not going to be there long.
You won't be there long, and you'll hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what else do I got though? After Wolfsburg, then you do sign to go to the second league in Ravensburg. So was it the money? How did you decide to go to Ravensburg originally out of Wolfsburg? Because your resume wasn't screaming second league Germany at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it.
I know you're finally getting down to my levels, but
yeah,
here we are. Here we are.
Yeah. Like I said, I was getting offered at that point more money to go down there. The guy who was the manager there was in Straubing, so I knew of him.
Jaeger, bald guy.
Yeah, Alex. Yeah, great guy. And he was.
I chatted with him a bit. I was almost a tower star.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. He had a good handle on things, and he was like, I really want this. The guy I want. So I think he felt like wanted and felt like, okay, I'm gonna make more money. It's 1 year. Let's go try it. And then obviously really enjoyed that year. It was a great spot. I mean, got to play a lot.
And then you meet Benny and like you see a guy that's really good at hockey, that's loving life down there, right? Like
yeah. Benny was great to play with. He was such a good guy. Kind of came from the same area. We played against each other in junior hockey, and then they were like, yeah, we want to sign you to a 2-year deal. And I was like, sign me up, let's go.
Yeah.
So pretty easy. Now I'm like, wow, this is gonna be 3 years in the same place after bouncing around. This feels pretty nice. So
must have been nice to get a multi-year deal. I was only a 1 year type of a guy.
Well, Alex is great. It's so weird, right? You get your contract, it's like one piece of paper, and
it's not like
it's not like this.
It's literally like, so you're gonna play for this much money. You're gonna get this much maybe for playoff bonuses, and sign here.
Yeah, get a car, you get an apartment.
Yeah.
That's the sign here. That's what the contract. It's a piece of paper. People would be like, can't even believe it. I'm not sure if that's changed. It'd be pretty interesting to hear if that's changed or not.
That would be interesting. Yeah. I got a couple agents I can ask now that I'm back in the game.
Yeah, you should ask them. That'd be pretty interesting.
I would be curious because you're right. It was a piece of paper that like just said, you get an apartment, a car. This is your base salary. This is your net, your gross. So here's your next question then. Can du sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch?
Nix Deutsch.
Nix
Not so
so
good at,
gut.
yeah,
Du
Nix so good.
vergessen alles, oder?
Yeah, I do forget a little bit for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I
My,
do too.
I could order a beer and probably some food, and that's probably as good as it gets. It was getting not bad because I never had an English coach over there. I always had German guys, so they would just start yelling at you. No, they start yelling at the team in German, and you got catching the hockey lingo. You get kind of catching that pretty quick. And then if they started saying something to you in English, you're like, "Whoa, this must not be good. It must be on the."
When they get into the English, that's when they know they're wanting you to understand. That means you're not
Yeah,
doing it
not
right.
doing good. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not doing good. That
I
that's not.
still remember my first year in Landshut, and I'd like sit there and I'd be like, so they put me beside a guy that had been in Germany for a couple of years, and I'd be like, so what did he say? And he'd be like, just go out and play, man. And I'd be like, all right. So
Well, you
let's
come
do
from
it.
like a, when you come from North America, you're like, you want to make sure you know what's happening. The coach is telling you like
You want
everything,
to know
systems,
everything.
and
You
like
want
you're
to make
thinking, like,
sure you're
where do I
doing
need to
everything
be?
asked to you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. They're
Yeah.
like, don't worry about it, just go play. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not
And
even
you're
talking
like,
about hockey. He's just talking about how good of a person or like how bad of people you are. Nothing to do with hockey. Yeah,
oh, it's totally different though, and it's different cultures and it's different like ways of playing, but like then the imports come over and they just expect you to just know, like, well, this is how you play hockey, right? Like you're an import.
yeah. Just go play. Yeah, just go score. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
But like your 3 years in Ravensburg, they must have been special to you. You had your kids, you're the captain of a team in Germany, you win the championship, right?
Yeah, I mean the championship just like put all this journey that we talked about. Like, I remember my friend who played pro as well, and we grew up together. And he was like, well, "What was it like?" And I just said it just kind of made the pro hockey journey worth everything. And I know it's not like you dream of winning a Stanley Cup or you dream of winning, but this was just kind of made it. I was like, it was worth it. We finally like did a whole season and you won, like, yeah, we won a Spengler Cup, but those are like, that's a few days. That's
That's
not
a
like a
trophy
grind.
at a tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a grind going through, and then you got to go through the playoffs, and it's the injuries, and it's the travel. It's like people getting hurt. Like it, yeah, it just made everything feel like it was all worth it in the end.
Yeah, and you would have been at a different stage. Like when I won it in Bietigheim, I was due to be married in a couple weeks. Like I didn't have kids or nothing, and it was just living. And man, they do it right. Like we said, when you win in Germany, it is living.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll ever like the true authentic fans. You're part of like history there. Like it's important to be part of a history. Like they waved their flags around the year that the team was established, and like you're there. Like you could walk back and people would be like maybe not notice you, but if you're at somewhere, they'd be like, yeah, that's the guy who was the captain. That was the
And
guy
you
who
don't
won.
realize it when you're doing it, right? You're just
Yeah,
playing, right? You're just giving her.
yeah, that's all you are. Enjoying your time in Germany.
Yeah. And crushing some verse and some schnitzels all along the way.
All the beers, yeah. Oh man.
But okay, yeah, we got to fit this in, even if we're getting old and tired. Then the transition had to have been hard. So, okay, I got a couple more questions actually.
Yeah.
So, how did you decide to shut her down after? So you win it 1 year, your team's doesn't do it the next year or whatever. How do you decide it's over?
I thought I was still gonna go. I mean, I was healthy enough to go. I think I had a deal to go back. And
And
I
I
talked.
I I watch everybody play hockey and I know how everybody plays. You played a game that like you played hard and you played the right way. You played honest, but like you didn't play a way that like was reckless and you're going to get hurt. So I
Yeah.
figured you were probably still healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't like Maloney, he had to like he was done. And Benny hurt himself on the horse. Like those guys were done. Their bodies were done. My body, like I was still in pretty good shape. Like my body, I didn't have a lot of bangs. Like, a lot of my injuries were over in North America because the game was so make it that time and physical. So I could have
Well,
kept
you
playing.
did go back for that year, right? And like that grind of the North American season is a totally different thing, man, for your
Totally.
body.
I think if you can make it through healthy in a year in North America, like that's a blessing. Like I don't know how like we talk about these Ironmans, like that doesn't happen. Like that the grind is
How
so
Phil Kessel has done what he's done, that guy is incredible.
incredible, incredible. Yeah. So I mean, that transition was in my mind was like, you know what, I'll come back. We'll figure it out. I was trying to getting tired of popping around to places, but in the meantime, and then when I was back in summer with some of the retired guys that have played in Europe, and they're like, "Hey, you got to get your name out there. Like if you're thinking in the next couple of years, like start to get your name out there." And my kids are getting a little bit older, like grade school, grade 3, grade 1. It was getting tough to bounce back and forth. So we I talked to the guys at that time and I actually got a job. So I was like, well, now I got to make a decision. Am I staying in here or we're
Because
going to
you
go
put your
down?
name out there, all of a sudden you got a job, and then you're like,
Yeah. So I was like, oh, will this be here next year or the year after? And I just think Ravensburg was kind of flaky. And I was like, oh man, so if we go back, we have to pick up and move the stuff to another place. And it's just, I just thought, I was like, at that time, I was like, I think we got to stop. And I had a couple calls during the year from, well, Bremerhaven was one of them and another team. And I was like, yeah, I think this is it. I guess it's it. I mean, it's kind of sad because I didn't really have like a farewell, or my wife didn't know it was like my last hockey game, and you want to kind of have that, but you know,
you
at
do
least
want to have that. You want to know it's your last game, and you want to know you're done, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So maybe that's the only regret. But on the flip side, I guess you kind of leave on your own terms, and you're not.
Well,
It's
and
not
it's
a,
weird how it all works out, right? Like the same thing happened for Rob Collins. You may remember
yeah.
him.
Remember that name? Yeah.
Dusseldorf, but like he comes home and he's done. He's like, I'll just play East Coast for a year for Brampton or the Central Hockey League or whatever. Next thing you know, DL team wants him to come over just for the playoffs. Well, then he runs amok and then he brings the family over for another 3 years, right? Like
Yeah.
you never do know what's gonna happen. And it's yeah, I was curious how it went for you because like you could still play. I figured you weren't injured. And like it's hard for hockey guys to stop, but when family shit gets in the way and like you're getting into grade school, you want them to be at home, right?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. They're either going to be at home and I was going to be in Europe, or they're going to stay in Europe and you had to stay in Europe the whole time. I mean, I don't know if there's a win-win there. Like I loved Europe, but it's like tough to stay there the whole year and not come back home either. So that was like the dilemma. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think we just kind of said, yeah, I think this is it. I mean, my goal was I thought always in my mind, I was like, I can play till 35. I know I can get to 35. And I could have for sure, but it just the timing of family and all the other stuff. And
Well, so anyways, so then you do head back and you do lace up for the Bentley Generals and win the Allen Cup on
yeah,
TSN again, probably, right?
yeah, it was on there. So I wasn't gonna. I mean, that was just a fun thing to do because that was in my hometown in Red Deer. Like they were in the Allen Cup because they were the host, no matter what they were in. So I would just go up. They practice once a week, which would say about like an hour and a half away, and then I just play the home games, and then they were in no matter what. We won the playoffs because their team was like stacked with like all ex pro players and
Oh
good
yeah.
team. Like, yeah, so they had the budget because there was oil money around at that time that sort of they could
But you
kind of
got to win a trophy with like the whole crew and your kids there
that
and
was
everything, right?
yeah, that like we're talking full circle. So it comes all the way back and then we win the Allen Cup at the minor hockey rink that I played a lot of my minor hockey stuff. So it was awesome. It was like
I
the full circle. It's great. I had the picture that you guys had there, and that was in the rink that I played my all my minor hockey. And I was like, I remember seeing a couple of the banners that we won, provincial banners, and I was like, this is it. Like this is the kind of like the full circle right here.
nah man, like we like I was worried about what time we were starting at tonight because busy lifestyle. But um when I saw your career and I saw the shit you did, it's like, my word, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But like you did this and like it's interesting for me because I get home and I feel like I've lived a pretty interesting life. And then you get home And then you just start working the normal life and you do the normal things. And like you pull out of the driveway and you all wave to each other in the neighborhood and you're like, yeah, we're going to work again. We'll see you at the end of the day. And then you get back and like whatever. It's like we used to live such different lives, such crazier lives than what we do now. And you just don't talk about it anymore. And that's what I love about what I'm doing. And I guess why I'm obsessed with it is that I feel like there's guys out there that want to talk about what they used to do and they have no one to talk to about it. And it's like, well, I'm right here, you know?
Oh man, it's great what you're doing. It's awesome. I mean, to sit here and go through that, it's and I think especially when you first stop playing hockey, the first few years, you're just like, what am I going to do? I got to get my life going. And now you're kind of looking back, and I know my son's interested and my kids are interested, and it's like they like, wow, like they don't even know, you don't talk about it, like, yeah, but it's just there, like
Well,
might be
it
like
takes some time to be like, especially if you didn't even get your final games and you didn't get to leave the way you wanted to. And I never got to. And like, it takes some time to be like ready to talk and like, okay about it. But like, then it's also like, well, they're doing their own thing. My kid doesn't, he's heard enough about the shit I've done. He wants to go do his own thing, right?
yeah, totally, yeah, it's so true. So yeah, it's his time. We
And
gotta,
it's like when I was a kid, I didn't give a shit about anybody else's old man and what they did. I was doing my own thing. Get out of my way, right?
yeah, unless he's like right in the NHL right now, and then they're like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that oh, he's in the NHL. Cool.
I
Yeah.
wish they were with his dad. Yeah,
But like, and that's what like I don't know, like a career like what you've had that like it just ends and nobody talks about it, nobody, and then you just carry on with life. And it's like, well, Jesus, like his jersey should be retired here and like maybe in Ravensburg. And it's like, look at all the shit he did. And it's like, and now you just don't talk about it and just carry on. And you're just like, every, it's just,
yeah. So yeah, it
yeah,
is. Yeah, it's all forgotten, and it's only on a stat or a piece of paper. And I was trying to figure out something I wanted to do at the end, like to at least like so I had something. I mean, we got all these jerseys. We got like where do you put all these jerseys? They're great. The European jerseys are amazing to look at. Like your playoff jersey, this jersey, that jersey. Every year is a new jersey. But I was like, so I kind of just like had my hockey cards that we got and like the team stats, and I kind of like look up at it and I'm like, oh, the ring that we got from like Ravensburg when we won and Allen Cup, and it's kind of nice to have it in one spot. And hopefully my kids will want to keep it at some time when I'm
yeah.
old. And,
No, and
well,
that's what's interesting for me, right? It's like don't really find I don't have my own jerseys up. That's not, but I'm very proud of the posters behind me. Um, because the lives all these dudes have lived, like yourself, we're hockey guys. We did it because we loved hockey. Um, some of us made millions, most of us didn't, but god damn it, we played hard and we won some shit that people don't even know about, and you don't even get to talk about it anymore. And
yeah,
nobody gives a shit except for us. So whoever wants to talk about it, I'm right here by shit.
yeah. Well, that's the other thing. We played at a high level. We might not have played in the NHL, but not too many people even get to that level, and that's gets overlooked, right? And
Well,
that's
and it does. And like, I never really put it together for myself as like how many small, short, right winging scorers there are in the world that are imports that keep getting jobs. It's like, I, I took it for granted in Beatingheim. I took it for granted that like they loved me so much and they liked me so much is that there aren't many jobs like that. Like there's only so many power plays to run in the world where people pay you a
yeah,
living.
yeah, it's true. Very
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
uh, we're getting too deep now.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you got anything else for me before we shut her down?
No, thanks. This is great. That's it's good to reminisce and go through that. It's been a long time.
Well, no, like, man, like, I know who shed guys are when I meet them. And when you're the captain of a team that wins a championship in Germany, they don't want to give the captain to an import. They don't want to do that.
No, they don't.
But when you're a captain and you're the leader of the team, and like, I get it. You'd want to have a German captain if you're a German team. That makes sense to me. And the older you get, the more it makes sense to you. But like that they did that for you. You win the championship and you have that for your memory. You played in the World Juniors, you win the Spangler Cup. It's like, shit, I hope your kids hear this shit someday, you know?
Yeah. It's really too bad that we're all playing in a day and age where we can't get on a video and watch it again, right? Like that, the access to the kids now.
Right. It's like, but it's kind of cool that there were no phones around. So like everybody could have fun and be themselves and not worry about everything. Right.
Yeah. It's true. Very true.
And this has been another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Kinch and Wally.